The studio fixer hung up the phone, furious. Another star's wife was seen with another man, and it was his job to make the story disappear. This was the reality for 10 of the Golden Age's biggest icons. These weren't just rumors. They were public scandals. The leading men you loved were being betrayed in the most open way, and they had to keep smiling. We are counting down the icons whose wives were publicly unfaithful, revealing the secrets Hollywood never wanted you to find. The first story is unbelievable. Behind the tough guy image, a world of betrayal. We start with one of the biggest, Humphrey Bogart, the tough guy who couldn't tame his sluggy wife. Long before Humphrey Bogart found lasting love with Lauren Bacall, America's favorite tough guy was trapped in a marriage that could have been scripted for one of his darkest movies. His third wife, Mayo Method, wasn't just difficult. You see, she was famous for her wild temper, earning the nickname Sluggy for her habit of getting physical during their epic, alcohol-fueled arguments. While Bogey lit up the screen, his wife was lighting matches at home, and rumors say she wasn't lighting them alone. Their home in the Hollywood Hills became known around town as Sluggy Hollow, a dark joke on Sleepy Hollow. To put it mildly, it was chaos. Witnesses reported seeing broken dishes, shattered glass, and even furniture thrown from windows during their legendary battles. What many overlooked was that Method's famous jealousy wasn't just in her head, it was classic projection. According to many sources close to the couple, including servants and neighbors, Mayo entertained lots of visitors when Bogart was filming. One neighbor noted a particular delivery man who seemed to need an awful lot of time to drop off packages. Sometimes he'd show up minutes after Bogey left and wouldn't leave until just before he was due home. Bogart suspected these betrayals but was in an impossible spot. Male stars back then were expected to control their households. Admitting his wife was stepping out would have been a massive humiliation, possibly damaging his tough guy image. Maybe the craziest part is that Method's jealous rages about Bogart's potential affairs got worse as her own stepping out increased. During the filming of Casablanca, when Bogart was working long hours, Mayo's visitors reportedly became even more frequent. Their marriage finally ended in 1945 when Bogart fell in love with his young co-star, Lauren Bacall. While this is often painted as Bogart leaving his troubled wife for a younger woman, insiders suggest a different story. Bogart finally found the courage to leave a destructive marriage after years of quiet humiliation. But Bogart wasn't the only one. What about America's favorite TV couple? We're talking about Desi Arnaz and the secret humiliation of Lucille Ball. America's favorite redhead and her Cuban bandleader husband presented the perfect picture of marriage on I Love Lucy. Their on-screen chemistry hooked audiences, making them TV's first superstar couple. But behind the scenes, their marriage was filled with cheating, and not just from the famous Desi. The thing nobody tells you is that they both stepped out, but Lucy knew how to do it without getting caught. Desi Arnaz's womanizing was Hollywood's worst-kept secret. His affairs were so numerous and so public that even studio publicists struggled to contain the stories. From chorus girls to women of the night, Arnaz seemed unable to stay loyal, often not even trying to hide it. A CBS executive once revealed that Desi wouldn't just cheat. He'd do it in public places where he was sure to be recognized. It was as if he wanted Lucy to find out. For years, the story was all about Desi's betrayals and Lucy's patience, but new accounts suggest a more complex truth. Lucille Ball eventually began having affairs of her own. This wasn't to find new love, but as a direct response to Desi's ongoing humiliation of her. A longtime friend explained it was a form of emotional survival. After years of public embarrassment, she decided that what was good for the goose was good for the gander. But unlike Desi, she was brilliant about keeping it quiet. She reportedly developed close relationships with at least 2 of her co-stars, always careful to keep things deniable. A former studio agent said Lucy was a genius about protecting her image. She knew that while audiences might forgive Desi, they would never forgive her for doing the same thing. What made this so sad was that, despite it all, Lucy and Desi genuinely loved each other. Their passionate connection never really went away. Even after their divorce in 1960, they couldn't live with each other, but they never really moved on. But if you think that's wild, the next star was Hollywood's king, and he was being betrayed from the very start. Gable's shocking past and Cooper's secret pact. Next up is Clark Gable, the king of Hollywood who was dethroned at home. Clark Gable, the dashing star who made women faint as Rhett Butler, was Hollywood royalty. But before he found happiness with Carole Lombard, Gable's earlier marriages showed a man who wasn't always king of his own castle. What many overlooked are his first two marriages, to Josephine Dillon and Maria Langham. Both women were way older than Gable, and both were wealthy, cultured women who helped turn the rough young actor into the sophisticated star he became. An MGM colleague said Josephine treated him more like a project than a husband. She refined his speech, paid for his dental work, and guided his career. But she also kept him on a very tight leash. This control reportedly included Josephine keeping her own independent social life, which several sources suggest included relationships with other men. Given the huge age gap, some historians think their marriage was more of a business deal than a romance. A neighbor claimed there were definitely men who visited Josephine when Clark was away. Whether these were romantic visits was never clear, but the timing raised eyebrows. Gable's second marriage to Maria Langham followed a similar path. Another older, wealthy woman, Langham gave Gable stability. But again, sources suggest that Maria kept up relationships with other men, especially when Gable's rising fame kept him away. A Hollywood hostess noted that Maria had a particular friend. They were very comfortable together, in a way that suggested a long-standing closeness. This all changed when Gable met and fell in love with actress Carole Lombard, who was closer to his own age. With her, he finally had a partnership of equals. But not every star wanted a partnership of equals. Some preferred an arrangement. This brings us to Gary Cooper and the Gentleman's Agreement. Gary Cooper was the face of American values on screen: integrity, honesty, and clear morals. But off-screen, Cooper's 28-year marriage to socialite Veronica Balfe, known as Rocky, operated under rules that would have shocked his fans. You see, they had this silent agreement: don't embarrass each other, just don't get caught. Cooper's affairs were famous in Hollywood. His romances with co-stars, including Grace Kelly and Ingrid Bergman, were poorly kept secrets. But the thing nobody tells you is how Rocky responded. She eventually set up her own quiet relationships. A longtime family friend explained that Rocky wasn't naive. She came from high society where marriages like theirs were common. The only rule was to be absolutely quiet and maintain the public image of a perfect marriage. According to sources, Rocky began her own well-behaved flings after about a decade, once she realized Cooper's cheating was permanent. She was too sophisticated to make a scene. Instead, she just began relationships with smart, quiet men from her East Coast social circle. What's really interesting is that this wasn't born from hate. By all accounts, Cooper and Rocky still had genuine affection for each other. They raised their daughter, kept a united public front, and even seemed to enjoy each other's company. A frequent guest said they had an unusual bond, a private understanding no one else was in on. This unspoken deal only got shaky once. Cooper's 3-year affair with Patricia Neal became so intense it threatened to destroy the whole facade. During that time, Cooper actually moved out. Gable and Cooper had arrangements, but the next star's life was just pure chaos. The stars who couldn't stop the drama, infidelity, fights, and Hollywood mayhem. Now for Mickey Rooney, the star who couldn't keep a wife loyal. Mickey Rooney ruled the box office in the late 1930s and early 1940s. But off-screen, Rooney's romantic life was, to put it mildly, a spectacular disaster. He had 8 marriages marked by betrayal, a sharp contrast to the wholesome Andy Hardy character that made him famous. His first marriage to Hollywood bombshell Ava Gardner in 1942 set the pattern. Despite his stardom, Rooney, standing just 5 feet 2 inches tall, often went after women who towered over him. An MGM colleague recalled that Mickey chased Ava with his usual high energy, overwhelming her with gifts and grand gestures. But once they were married, that energy went elsewhere, back to the studio, to other women, to gambling. Gardner quickly got fed up with Rooney's absences and rumored cheating. What's less known is that she allegedly began her own affair with billionaire Howard Hughes during their marriage. When she realized Mickey was seeing other women, she accepted Hughes's attention. Mickey was so busy, he didn't notice until a studio pal tipped him off. This pattern, Rooney's cheating, followed by his wife's revenge affair, would repeat for his whole life. His second wife, Betty Jane Phillips, reportedly started a relationship with a musician after finding out about Mickey's affairs. His third wife, Martha Vickers, allegedly got involved with a director. The real irony? While Mickey started the cheating, he would react with absolute fury when his wives did the same. Despite his own behavior, he expected total loyalty. An MGM insider said he would explode with jealousy from a man who couldn't go a week without chasing a new showgirl. But even Rooney's chaos couldn't top our next star, Errol Flynn. Errol Flynn fought his way into Hollywood history with his dashing looks. But off-screen, Flynn's first marriage to French actress Lily Demita created a wild household where staying faithful was the one adventure neither of them was interested in. 2 cheaters, 1 mansion, and a sword collection in between. Flynn's reputation as a ladies' man is well known. What's less discussed is that in Lily DeMita, he met a woman whose view on loyalty was just as casual as his. A Hollywood veteran explained that Lily was already a star in Europe, and nobody who knew her, including Flynn, expected her to be faithful. According to their friends, the Flynn-DeMita marriage ran on an unspoken understanding. Both were free to do as they pleased, as long as they were somewhat quiet about it. What made their situation so wild was how open they were. They would throw huge parties at their home. A guest recalled that Errol would be openly flirting with starlets in one room while Lily entertained her own admirers in another. This created a strange home life. The Flynns had separate bedrooms, and staff said these rooms were often occupied by visitors who were clearly more than friends. It was like they were running parallel lives under one roof. What's crazy is that despite the mutual cheating, they seemed to have a passionate, if stormy, connection. Their arguments were famous. A neighbor said they didn't just argue, they performed their arguments. Then, just as suddenly, they would make up with equal drama. Their marriage finally ended in 1942, not just because of the affairs, but because the constant drama had simply worn them both out. Their drama was famous, but the next icon's secret was buried for 30 years. Holden's agreement and Curtis's karma. Some stars kept their secrets much quieter, like William Holden, the golden boy who met his match. William Holden was the perfect picture of the all-American leading man, but behind his golden boy image was a complicated marriage to actress Brenda Marshall that defied the simple stories Hollywood loved. Holden's marriage to Marshall lasted from 1941 to 1971. A full 30 years, an eternity in Hollywood. This longevity made many assume they had a stable, traditional marriage. The reality was way more complex. A colleague revealed that Bill's affairs were famous, especially with co-stars like Grace Kelly and Audrey Hepburn. The thing is, Brenda Marshall didn't just play the role of the suffering wife. She eventually built her own independent life. A family friend explained Brenda was nobody's fool. After the first few years and endless cheating, she made a choice. She would keep the marriage and family, but she would also quietly look for emotional connection elsewhere. According to their friends, Marshall developed several close relationships with men who gave her the attention Holden didn't. These relationships were handled with extreme care, far more carefully than Holden's public flings. A neighbor noted she entertained gentleman friends when Bill was away on location. These weren't wild affairs. They were quiet, dignified relationships with cultured men. So, was Hollywood's golden age built on lies? Tell us which story shocked you the most. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more secrets.